Speaking of imagination and plays you've made, the clip of you going against the big and drop coverage and using the gather step into what essentially is a fake lob, fake underhand shot, and then taking that extra step, just juking the defender. Each one more used to do that all the time for the Pelicans. And then like all of a sudden we all started doing it. But like everybody on Twitter, Instagram, that's a travel, that's a travel. And it's not, but that's another example, I think, of like using your imagination. Is that something that move in particular, where did you put that in your bag?
Zach LaVine, he does it all the time. He doesn't even do it for lobs. He does it to throw off your timing so he get fouled at the free throw line.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Ron Norad, our assistant, he's always on my head about it. Always on my head. Throw the fake, just throw off the timing. Fake the ball up. Fake the ball up. So I don't know. In that moment, it just felt right because the teams are in a drop, and if they're used to, it usually works when you have a setup, right? So you throw the lob first, and then you don't, or whatever. So that's what I used there. But I did see you and Etuan Moore talking about it on social media. I was laughing at that.
Dude, real quick before we get to the draft, I did want to ask you about the Miles Turner partnership in the pick and roll, because I think he has such a great sense of when to pop, when to roll. And I'm wondering about the communication between you, because he mixes up popping versus a drop versus rolling into that pocket. The Hornets game was a great example of that. There's twice where he rolled into that pocket and you hit him for dunks. Is that a natural thing? Or do you guys communicate before play, roll, pop, whatever it may be?
I don't think it's a before a play thing. I do think that it's trial and error. When I first got here, there was a lot of concern, not from me necessarily, but from other people, people who watch basketball. Miles had a very low roll rate in the last few years, one of the lowest for starting bigs in the NBA. I don't know exactly. But in part reason because Sabonis was on the team. You had two bigs down there. If he rolls, he's rolling into another big. So he kind of was moved to the four, forced to pop and things like that. And early in the year, there was some times I was like, roll, you know what I mean? Because I played with Rashawn Holmes. I played with guys who, aren't as much of a perimeter threat as Miles is to shoot the three. So they're just used to rolling. So with me and Miles, it's just been constant communication and figuring it out against certain coverages. When we play drop, you can mix that up so many different times. And it's also dependent on the tag on the backside. If we cut out, he can pop and get a wide open three with no stunt. But sometimes him rolling, if I get deep enough and I hit him for dunks, or even sometimes his roll presence, you know how it is in the NBA. If you're a big, they hate being scored on. Bigs hate that. So the minute that I throw a lob or give Miles two dunks, they're just going to keep backing up and they're not even going to stop me. And then I'm going to get layups because that's every big's like, they think that way. They're like, all right, well, at the end of the game, Miles had 10, Tyrese had 30. Right. I did my job.
How many did my matchup have?
Exactly. So it's just figuring out. And Lloyd Pierce has been awesome. They watch a lot of film together, Lloyd and Miles. And it's just constant communication, but it's never like on the play exactly. Sometimes it might be after the play, getting back on defense, like, yo, I need you to roll, need you to pop this time. But just we have a great relationship, so that helps.
Just want to clarify. So on when you said cut out, because just for listener, and maybe Jason can pull up a clip of this, but if you're in a 5-out high pick and roll, spread pick and roll, and Miles pops, if you leave the two guys on the weak side in place, then that guard or that wing that's guarding the guy in the slot can get a stunt on Miles and it sort of disrupts the play. But if he cuts to the basket, makes that slot cut, all of a sudden it vacates that area. Miles then has more space to shoot, as well as a single side dribble handoff going back to the right side, or getting the guy getting the dribble handoff going back to his right side. So a lot of optionality out of that when you do make that slot cut.
I think freedom is the best thing that we can give young athletes, and letting them use their imagination. That was something that my coaches in my life always preached to me. Is like, where's your imagination at? Like when it comes to making moves, or, you're in a workout and you're making a certain amount of jumpers. I'm working on my pick and roll pull up. Well, I can't just come off and the pick and roll and just shoot a pull up every time. That's not realistic. Like I wish that I could come off every pick and roll and everybody be in a deep drop and I could just tee up threes, but it's not real. Like there's going to be a stunt. There's going to be a hedge. Something's going to happen. I'm going to have to make a move on the big with the switch. I think that's something that our youth, and something that's missing sometimes is like we're just doing the drill to do the drill sometimes. I saw an awesome video of John Lucas training some kids in LA where he was talking about that. Like, why are we just doing the drill to do the drill? We need to do it with a purpose. And, I always imagine like there's people on the floor, there's a guy in this corner, single side tag, whatever the case may be, just figuring it out that way. So I think using your imagination is a big thing for athletes.